I say this every time he's in a Craftsman Truck Series race, whether he's full-time or part-time, it's always Heim time in the Craftsman Truck Series as he gets another victory. 3 races so far this year. He's raced 3 out of the 5 races, yet he has the points lead. He's in a tie with Caden Honeycutt right now, but still technically he is the points leader because he owns the tiebreaker and whatnot. So Corey Heim is your points leader, but I think the big discussion afterwards is the rules, and I think these rules are mainly in place right now because of the way the win and you're in system was. I think those rules are more made for that than it is for this. But with the way the rules are structured at the current moment, Corey Heim, and I don't think this is going to happen because he's not racing full time. He's going to start missing some races here soon. But maybe if he was eligible, he would become full time in the Truck Series. But the way the rules are right now, he cannot compete for the championship. He cannot compete for the chase unless he races every single race in the season, unless there's some emergency thing where he had to miss a race, like due to like injury or due to like the birth of a child or something like that. Those are some of the few things that could get it all amended and have him compete for the championship. But the fact that he didn't compete in 2 races so far this season, he is excluded from the championship conversation, from the chase conversation. And I think there's an actual potential of him being in the top 10 in points. I don't think he'll be the points leader by the time we get to the regular season because he's going to miss more races. But I think there is a legitimate chance that he could be in the top 10 in points once we finish with the regular season. And the way I look at it, if he has that many points and the team and him are willing to compete in all the chase races, like if they sign him to an agreement where he has to run all the chase races, he should compete. He should be allowed to compete for the championship. Our current points leader in the trucks is not eligible for a championship. And I think that there needs to be an update to that rule because I just don't think that rule got touched after us changing back to the chase system compared to the win and you're in playoff system. So I think that rule needs an updating, and I've said it multiple times on this channel. I'm not big about changing rules mid-season or updating rules mid-season, but this is clearly a rule that should have been updated in the offseason. What are we doing? Well, Corey Heim is probably the best driver in the lower series, whether you're talking trucks or O'Reilly. And if he was a Cup Series driver, he'd probably be a top 15, top 20 Cup Series driver by the snap of fingers. I don't get it. This is a rule that needs to be amended, needs to be changed, in my opinion, because Corey Heim, we want our champions to be the best. And if Corey Heim has a chance to be the champion, he should be allowed to compete. And that's just my opinion. I think there has been some slightly differing opinions on this. But Cory, what is your opinion on this whole situation with Corey Heim being the points leader, but technically isn't the points leader? Cory, how are you feeling about all this?
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said it's just a rule that they forgot to change because of the win in your in system. Because there's why even put him as number 1 in the standings if he's not eligible for the playoffs or eligible for the championship?
So we
It's just
talk.
deceiving, and yeah, exactly. But yeah, I agree with you. It needs to be changed. I don't know what parameters they say. I think if you race at least half the season, 75% of the season, whatever number they come up with, or as long as you declare yourself racing for a particular championship going into the year without this win in your in system, if he races 20 of the 25 races, he should be in the championship or in the playoffs if he makes the cut. I don't see why that would be an issue, or it just now he needs to if he makes the cut and it comes to the playoffs, he has to have a ride or they waive his spot in
For
the
sure.
playoffs for somebody else. That's clearly what it should be, but yeah, you can't be the points leader and then not in the playoffs. What, 5 races in? That's crazy.
Yeah, I think that's exactly how I feel with it. If if he ends up racing a good amount of the races in the regular season, and by the time it comes down to the chase, NASCAR, well, probably not right after. I forget what the cutoff race is, but probably like a couple weeks before the cutoff race, when it seems like there's a legitimate possibility of Corey Heim making the chase. Whatever team he's racing for, probably Tricon Garage, should get with NASCAR and be like, well, we've offered him to race the whole chase. We've given him a contract. He has a ride for the whole chase. Obviously, have Corey Heim in the room as well, and be like, Corey, are you going to miss any races in the chase? If you're able to make every race in the chase and not have any other obligations, I deem you as championship eligible. And I think that's the way we should do it from this point going forward. And yeah, I truly think that the only reason that this is happening is because I don't think that rule was really. I don't think anybody even thought that rule would even be an issue, and I think that's why it was never really reworked on, because I don't think anybody saw this scenario ahead of us. But you also had to realize that we have a driver named Corey Heim in NASCAR that's not racing full time anywhere, that honestly could compete for a championship at all three levels. Let's be honest. Like I was saying with the Cup Series, if he was a Cup Series driver, he would be a top 20, maybe a top 15 driver right away. By the end of the year, I could see him being a top 10 driver, especially with how good 2311 racing is right now. Heim's a very talented race car driver and should be out there competing. We want the best in our sport winning championships. I already said it, but I have to reiterate it. We want the best in our sport to be the one winning championships, especially with this. That was the whole reason we kind of switched back to this chase system, because we want the best driver every year to win the championship. We don't want somebody falling face first into a championship. I'm talking to you, Joey Logano. You know, we don't want someone falling face first into a championship. We want somebody that's worked hard and raced their ass off pretty much all year long to get themselves into that position. And Corey Heim is, in my opinion, the definition of that. He gets whatever he can get into, he's going to race his ass off and race the wheels off that thing. And it's just, Heim impresses me so much, and he should be allowed to compete for the championship if it comes down to it. Honestly, there's a good chance. What were you about to say?
I would also say if they do change the rules, it's kind of a one-off scenario, because there's not a talent like Corey Heim anywhere else in the series right now, in the lower series. Like, I don't think there's anyone that could be doing what he's doing right now. Raced 3 times and won twice as a part-time driver in the truck series. That's insane. So they could change the rule, but it wouldn't be. I don't know. It'd be hard to see anyone who's given part-time opportunities actually take advantage of a rule change, other than Corey Heim.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that's why. And I kind of, in my own way, I kind of said that a couple of minutes ago, where it's like, I think this rule was never redone or changed because I don't think anybody in. I'll give them a little bit of credit on, not credit, but I'll give them a little leeway, I should say, on that. That I don't think anybody saw this exact scenario happening, including myself. I didn't see the scenario where we would have Corey Heim as the points leader in the Truck Series 5 races in. No matter how good I think Corey Heim is, I didn't see that as a possibility per se coming into the year. But I think I'm going to say that if they change the rule, I could see it affecting another driver in the future. Like, what if we get, for example, let's say, I don't even know, let's say Landon
Braxton
Huff.
Bush.
No, yeah, I guess we'll just use. But Braxton Bush is going to be slowly moved into it. I'm trying to think. Maybe let's say a Matthew DiBenedetto. Let's use Matthew DiBenedetto as an option. Someone that hasn't raced all year jumps into the series. I don't know, like the 3rd or 4th race because they couldn't find a ride. Look at Nick Sanchez would be a better example, actually.
What about Corey LaJoie?
Corey LaJoie, that's another example, but it doesn't matter who the example is. But I think Nick Sanchez or Corey LaJoie would probably be a better example. Drivers that haven't raced the whole year because whether or not because they didn't have sponsorship or they didn't have a full-time ride, or or whatnot, and then all of a sudden they just start kicking ass. Like, technically, Nick Sanchez is not eligible according to this rule, Nick Sanchez is not eligible to race for the championship in the O'Reilly Series, technically. By the definition of this rule, Corey LaJoie is also not eligible to race for the championship. So I do think that this rule needs to be changed. I think there's very few drivers or teams that would be affected by this rule, and this rule would actually help or not help in some cases. But I do think this rule needs to be amended immediately. They need to change the wording of it or something. I like your idea, Corey, of you have to race 75% of the regular season to compete. I would agree with that. I think that's probably a fair number, I would say. And as long as you're within the top 10 or top 12 or top 16 for the Cup Series, you should be allowed to compete for the championship. We'll just have to see how this all plays out. I really doubt they're going to change this rule mid-season, and honestly, there's a good chance this could be a non-factor because we don't know how many races Corey Heim is ultimately going to be racing in. I know he already has other plans throughout the year, whether it's local short track stuff, whether it's him racing Cup Series races or whatever. I know he likes to dabble in other series, and this has kind of been his year to kind of dabble around and figure out what he really likes, what he likes outside of NASCAR, and really just hone in on his skills before he becomes a full-time Cup Series driver, because I guarantee he's going to be a full-time Cup Series driver in 2027, whether that's with 2311 or Legacy or maybe Hendrick Motorsports, who knows, Penske maybe, who knows. I could see any team at this point signing him for 2027 unless if 2311 doesn't get on that immediately. So I think this rule needs to be amended for sure, and I can't state enough how fantastic Corey Heim is. He impresses me every week. Every time he's in the truck, he does something that just impresses me even more. Because I don't remember where he started in this race, but he didn't start at the very front. I want to say he started like 8th or 9th, something like that. And he immediately drove up to the front, and I think we were 15 laps in, and he already had a 4-second lead. It's ridiculous what he can do in a race car. He's a natural talent. But let us know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about Corey Heim getting another win? How do you feel about Corey Heim being the points leader but not being eligible to race for the championship or race in the chase whatsoever?